searching for the answer to our trials. We came so far through all weakness. We found the love, even the stars between us won't bury us. One day we can be together. And this moment could last forever. I say that you and I have found a peace together. So my friend, we can be.
Good.
What is going on, everybody? It is Bez Racing Team Season 5, race number 2 here at Nürburgring. Did you miss us? I know you did. I am back. This is my debut for Season 5. Reagan Lettman back in the commentary booth, as always, as usually with me when he decides to show up, Stephen Wallace. Stephen, how are you today?
I am good. I don't appreciate the slander towards me when I decide to show up. Who was there 2 weeks ago, Reagan? I'll give you a hint. It wasn't you.
I was there in spirit, and I think that is just as important.
Yeah. There was, like I told you, there was one moment I played one of the Robo-Reagan clips from last season, and it was wishing luck to Kurt Peters, and then he immediately got hit. So let's hope we don't commentators curse Kurt this time around. But I do still have those Robo-Reagan clips, so maybe we'll throw in a couple of those for good measure.
Yeah, people don't get tired of my real voice. They can hear the fake voice, too.
Yeah, I did actually, I don't think we've had any new followers, but I did change the new follower sound, because it was that, like, before. You remember that?
I sure do.
It's now you saying, "Oh, baby," just like you did when you opened up this stream. So we need to get some new followers so we can hear that on stream.
I sure do. Everyone, all of our lovely viewers, please go ask your parents, ask your friends, your long-lost lovers to join Bez Racing Team here on Twitch, twitch.tv/Bez Racing Team. I don't know why I'm telling you that, because if you're watching this, you'll be there. But just in case.
Just in case. I am trying to... Okay. My Stream Deck is being a little twitchy today. Let's see if replays work. That's the main thing.
Streaming on YouTube then.
This is an instant replay, so that is all working well. It's just the end of session button that I have set up that, because ACC annoyingly, when a session ends, like qualifying or practice or whatever, pulls up the default race results screen, but then you have to go back into ACC to hit drive to clear everything out. I don't like that, so I have a button on my Stream Deck that's supposed to do all of those button presses for me very, very quickly, but it's not cooperating with me today. So might be a little longer in between sessions, but the only one left of that should be at the end of qualifying. So not the biggest deal in the world. What is a big deal is the drivers that we have out on track today. A lot of familiar faces from Barcelona, as well as a couple... Oh! Was that a hit?
You know what? I was looking at the list of drivers. So let's pull up a real instant replay here. See what happened.
In quali, I was not expecting to have to replay this quickly, but I was going to say we had familiar faces from Barcelona, a couple of new faces, but we are right now looking at Marcus Ness, and I'm actually not sure off the top of my head who is in the Ferrari behind. That was indeed contact. Yeah.
Wow, not a great start for our qualifying here, but...
And was that maybe...
Well, that was, I think it was car 13?
Or it might be 27. It was Darren Chan.
Aaron Shan.
I think there might have been a couple of accidents because we had Darren is number 27 and Marcus Ness is 93. But there was another accident potentially? No, this is the same one. It says the car numbers are different though. Interesting, and I can't bounce back and forth. I do, I don't remember if we got this working last season or not, Reagan, but there is now a button to see highlights of, like, accidents during the race, which is very nice.
We got it working last time.
No.
I can't see the race.
Yep.
My friend. We should maybe invest some time into figuring that out. I feel like there is an easy way to fix that.
There would be if I had a third screen.
That's true. That would be very nice. Bez Racing Team subscribers, if you would like to donate to the cause of Steven getting a third screen so that we can have slightly less annoyance while streaming, I would be down for that.
Indeed. The only barrier I think we have the subscriber number, and we get the chat involvement, but we just need more hours streaming, so maybe petition for weekly instead of bi-weekly races, and we'll hit that hour count, and then you'll be able to subscribe, give us those Prime subscriptions, and then we will be rolling in that money.
The other thing we could do is just forget to close the stream. Stream for like 8 hours. Oh, hello, Cat. You want to come up here and do things? Well, I guess we're 5 minutes into qualifying, and we have not actually talked about qualifying once. So why don't we take a look at what is going on? Get up our data. Oh, you've decided to follow. That was interesting. We've got a couple lap times in here. Porshakov, again, I was not here last race. I believe, looking at the results, this is the first race for Porshakov here.
I believe so.
Racing Team Season 5 and at all. So 154.3. It looks like we've got track is at optimum. In practice, it was it was fast. 154.46 for Dudek close behind. Dudek with a dominant victory last race at Barcelona, putting down a 43.6 as his fastest lap, almost a minute ahead, more than a minute ahead of P2. Ridiculous pace there.
And by his own admission, struggles in qualifying pace. And if a 54.4 is struggling, I would be very worrisome of what that race pace is going to be looking like. He was mentioning in the Discord, that he was in the 53s. Darren, are you talking about Andre or Nico? Because they might be both in the 53s for the race. And then, we're also seeing the return of Carl. Was not there for the first Barcelona race. And we also didn't see Oystein Brenham. We saw him pop up in the chat very briefly towards the end. But not in the race, and still is missing from today. Carl, I think, would have been happy that Oystein is not here, but not too happy seeing that there are now a couple more very quick drivers that have joined our races.
Well, I was going to actually make that point. See Oystein Brenham missing the first two races. As most of you are most likely aware, Oystein Brenham, a dominant winner of the last two Bez Racing Team seasons, not present for the first two races, and immediately it seems like we've got the chance of a new dominant driver showing up. If Nico Dudek continues what he did in race 1, a minute ahead of second place. If that continues, we may just have a passing of the torch unless Steve decides to join back up and defend his title. Hopefully, we will see some fighting up at the front. Carl Nordell, very fast driver. It seems like Porshakov is showing himself to be very quick off the top. But of course, we don't really know what happens until it happens. So, starting the race plays such a big big part in this. Oystein Brenham, one of his best traits was being able to stay out of trouble for the most part in the race starts. We'll see if some of our fast drivers at the moment have that same trait.
And someone we haven't mentioned yet, but is currently sitting P1 and is on a 3/10 improvement preliminarily, is Tristan Stork. Tristan, the name is familiar. I think he used to race, but I remember him being a silver class driver, ? So to see him coming back with a vengeance is mighty good to see.
It really is. Stork, yes, Stork in the silver class. A very small lead on Porshakov, less than, or exactly half a tenth, actually. Yeah, we'll just have to see what happens with Stork throughout this season. Seems to be putting up some very nice times here, and I believe he's missing from the first race. Another driver who's not there in the first race, so maybe someone who, like Kurt Peters last season, maybe showing themselves as the next pro driver of the group if they keep it up. We can look down the group a little bit as well. We've got Pasha, a longtime member of Bez Racing Team, in P5. Richard Walters, pole sitter for Barcelona, in P6 at the moment. Magnus, Marcus Ness, Paul Krobs down at 9. Nikinen is a new name, and you know what? We'll jump over, and Paul Krobs has a little bit of incident there. Nothing too crazy.
For Nikinen, I think we saw him at a couple. It wasn't a lot of races, but I think he was there a couple races last season.
Okay, so maybe not a rookie after all. Stephen, I don't think I've tried to set the autopilot here. I don't think it's actually working. I don't see it changing off of Nikinen automatically anytime.
I have it set to focus slow, like the slowest possible, so it isn't eager to change drivers. Oh, we have Charlie Thornton
Charlie, who's gone off.
Off track with some nice track racer.
Nice.
Can we turn up Reagan? We definitely could.
I think I have done a replay. This is a replay here, so that's good.
Oh, that was a replay?
No, I was just testing to see if I could do. I only did a 10-second replay, so he must have been sitting in the gravel for a little bit. Oh, that was okay. There we go. It automatically changed to Porshakov. I think I had the autoplay setting and you had the autoplay setting. And I wonder if that might have screwed things up. Down, we got Simon, our only AM driver, having a bit of a tumble there into the gravel. Easy win for Simon, unless some of our AM drivers decide to sign up at the last second. Volkov is another name that might have shown up for a race or two last season. Am I right in saying
I
that?
think he's brand new. I don't think I've seen Volkov before.
Okay, so I have no idea what I'm talking about. Hashov and Prevo both at the same time showing yellow. Just to be jumping around a little bit here. Prevo now going in. We've got Simon, as mentioned. Charlie Thornton, don't want to jump past him. Charlie's been here for a little while yet. I think his third season now with Bez Racing Team.
I believe so.
And Charlie has not had the best of luck racing in this series. I think both seasons he's had some notable troubles. We'll see if he's able to keep his nose clean for this season. Is that Gary Bosman putting down the time? Nope, Gary still pretty far down. 158 is his best at the moment. Again, long-standing member here at Bez Racing Team. Very good driver who's just waiting to put down that time that we know he can do. Johan Houben, Kieran Macy, and sad little Kurt Peters sitting down at the bottom. A little shy, doesn't want to go driving, but maybe we can coax him out later.
Well, I was going to try and pull up. I should have reviewed the incidents from last race. We have some verdicts, but I don't think there's any quali bans, especially after one race. That would require a lot of behavior warning points.
Yeah. Kurt Peters, number 77, and I saw nothing in there for 77.
So, Kurt, come on out, buddy. We won't commentator's courtesy this race, we promise.
And Prevo, just slowing down, letting somebody pass. Must be on an out lap or a slow lap here. Pashov showing yellow for no reason. ACC TV once again tricking us. Pashov with a 155.23. And we haven't mentioned it yet, but we do have Porshakov as the first driver in the 53s. 53.765. And an immediate improvement down to 53.395. Very fast stuff there from Porshakov. Almost a full second in front of Dudek, who, as you mentioned, admittedly, is not the best at qualifying, but that does not mean that they don't have the chance of maybe pulling out some magic here. Lots of drivers showing green up and down the grid, too. Like Volkov here, 0.5 up, but does have some traffic in the way.
With Andre's mastery of his car, we might have to start calling him Ferrari-Kov instead.
That's not bad. That's not bad.
Because he's Porsche-Kov?
Yeah.
But he doesn't drive. He doesn't drive the Porsche.
I didn't get it, and now I do get it.
Good.
Yes.
Well, and I know for some of our viewers, sometimes our jokes may go over some heads because of how dumb they are. So, no, not the viewers are dumb. Sorry, I meant the joke.
Go over these.
I meant the joke.
Oh shoot! Is my mic on?
I meant the jokes are dumb, and sometimes they make sense to me or you individually, but not to anyone else. The jokes are dumb. Our viewers are not. That was as soon as it came out of my mouth, I was like, "Oh no!"
It's fun. You know what, Steven? You didn't even have to do that preamble because our viewers would be too dumb to realize you insulted them. So, I think that we could have just gotten past without saying anything. And we're so thankful that all you are here to watch. By the way, watch Magnus go off into the gravel on that hairpin. Well, it's supposed to be a hairpin. I think Magnus maybe forgot the angle of that turn. Steven, why are you opening iRacing?
Because I was.
We're watching. We're commentating here. We're professionals, and here you are opening iRacing.
Okay.
I can't even see the stream.
So, do you see Magnus's name here in iRacing, right?
I do.
And there's an O in his last name, correct?
Yeah. Oh, so, yeah, no, his name is... Yeah.
So I was wondering that the last race. I was like, what happened to the O? He's Haukeby now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where the error was, but that is still not changed. So maybe it is a different Magnus, actually, that has joined our league. Maybe this is somebody completely unknown.
You know what? That's gotta be it. We've got... Okay, this is odd. Never mind, this isn't odd. I'm just a bit of a dummy. We do have Dudek in the 53.9s and Carl Nordell putting down a very nice 54.14 to vault up into P3 here. 3 minutes, 56 seconds left in qualifying. Qualifying 1 20-minute session, we haven't mentioned, versus the 3 10-minute sessions that we had last season. So a little bit faster, a little more chaotic as well, as we've got drivers of all paces going off and trying to set their best. Speaking of setting their best, we've got Pashov here, 0.5 up, a little bit left in their lap. If I go watch the track map, what am I saying? A little bit left. Yeah, they got about a quarter of a lap here, maybe a third. A percentage that really isn't that important to us or our viewers. So why don't we just see how he does with the last couple turns coming up. Tricky little chicane here. That's looking not too bad at all. Nice and tight. Coming around the final turn, everything is seeming pretty neat and tidy. It's looking like this might be a nice improvement for Pashov. Loses maybe a tiny little bit on that final turn, but P5 with a 54.482. Nice improvement there. That may quickly be lost to Richard Walters if he keeps it valid. Looks like he was right on the line there. But things are looking good for him. He's 0.4 up, which would vault him just in front of Pashov if he can keep it up. We'll see. He's going down to that same hairpin. Nice and hard on the brakes at around the 75, if I am not mistaken. That looked pretty neat and tidy to me. He's up another 10th. We've jumped over because of autoplay. When it works, it works. When we don't want it to work, it works. So we'll jump back here and see what Richard Walters is able to do as he comes across the line. And I believe that vaults him now into 54.3 and 5th place. So a nice lap for Richard there with just 2 minutes left.
And Pashov in the pits will not be able to respond. We are taking down to less than 2 minutes, and of course that's about what a lap time is. So to get out of the pits, get around, if you are sitting in the pits, you would not be able to make it back to the start line. So the drivers out on track will be able to improve 1 or 2 more attempts depending on where they are, but Pashov won't be able to improve on his 54.4. Paul Krabs, that Mercedes looking a little squirrely. And something else I wanted to mention, we have lost Kurt Peters.
I was just about to mention that. I noticed that Kurt is gone. Not sure what happened. Unfortunate to lose Kurt. We'll probably lose half our viewership once everyone finds out, so maybe we should mention it. But yeah, Kurt does not seem to be participating. Maybe some technical issues kept him out of this one.
Yeah, my guess was going to be something hardware, because I think we saw him on track in practice, and then he wasn't there, or here, I guess, for quali. So I'm guessing something random happened to his setup or something where he was not able to continue. But that's my assumption. But we have P1 and P3, Andre and Carl in the pits. They won't improve. Nico is 2/10 up on, or down, I guess, on his time. Will not improve, it doesn't look like. But he is just about to enter the final chicane. So with less than 30 seconds left, should get 1 more attempt if he has the tires and the fuel to make it happen. Tristan Stork just was on the cusp of maintaining his lap time. He's now 3/10 down. Also will not improve. Richard Walters just needs about 7/100ths to nab P4 from Tristan. He is currently matching his previous best, so we'll see if he is able to improve. Pashov, we were saying he did not have time to improve. He is back out on track, but I don't think we'll be able to get a lap in. Magnus Haukeby is 3/10 up. I don't think that's going to be enough to vault Rose and Pashov there. Volkov already done, and in the pits we have a good number of drivers with the checkered flags below their names. They are already done. But keep an eye on Paul Krabs, Nikon, Darren Chan, Magnus, Richard, and Nico, all looking like they might improve by just about a 10th or 2 on these final laps.
Yeah, a couple drivers looking like they might have a slight improvement. And, you know, we've got a first-timer in the chat cheering on Richard Walters, so why don't we see him? Looks like he was right even. He only needs a 10th to vault the P4 and Tristan Stork. Now, he is, right on that line. A little bit of time left. Why don't we give the viewers what they want and see how Richard is able to do through the last couple turns. No, don't jump away from Richard autoplay. You're not allowed to do that.
It was still on Richard. It was just choosing an unfortunate camera angle.
Okay. Richard's still right on the cusp. He just needs a 10th. He was at a different part of the track than I thought he was. That was the Schumacher S's, not this final chicane here. That looked okay. You know what? The first part of the chicane, not great. The second part was excellent, right on the line. He's currently up a 10th. That looked pretty good. Maybe a little shaky on the exit, but it looks like that might be enough. And that is P3. A big jump there for Richard Walters. Only 0.005 up on Carl Nordell. What a close qualifying there for that second row. Fantastic lap just to eke out exactly what he needed for a P3 there for Richard Walters.
I tried to do a replay because I wanted to see if we could get that on board for when he went through the chicane and got a little airborne. And that didn't work. So this is actually not a replay. I will get rid of that screen. But
There we go. That is P1 for Porshakov with a 53.395 fantastic lap. Nico Dudek in P2, 53.95, and just behind Richard Walters, Carl Nordell in 3 and 4 on the second row. We've got Darren unhappy with his lap time of the 55.335, thinking he had some more left in the tank that he wasn't able to extract. So, guess you'll just have to find that time out on track than in qualifying.
But
both of them are on track, so that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, but still P2 in class. Very nice.
In class.
But how about we go ahead and transition over to our infamous track walks and track overviews, Reagan?
That sounds fantastic. You know what? My coworker said they wanted me to have a fantabulous weekend, so that sounds fantabulous.
Great.
Mm-hmm. All right, we've got Nürburgring. It's going to go way too fast, so I will try my best.
I tried to slow it down. Not as much as Hungary last season, but reasonable.
Well, we are starting off here with the Yokohama S. Well, we have that weird kink that's technically not considered a turn, which is weird because at Imola that would be considered a turn. Anyways, turn 2 into the Mercedes Arena, 3 and 4. Important to get a good exit out of 4. Not a lot of straight lines on this track, so you got to make do when you can. Turn 5, turn 6, unnamed. Just kidding, it's the Ford curve. Thanks, other track map I have open. Into the hairpin here, starting sector 2, the Dunlop Cara, also known as Curve, and the Schumacher S's, named after famous driver Mick Schumacher. Into turn 10 here, a nice sharp left into the sharp right of the Warsteiner Curve. We've got turn 12, technically a turn. I mean, it feels turnian, Advan Bogen. Into the hard chicane here, the NGK chicane, into turn 15, the long sweeping 15, and that is a lap of the Nürburgring. Lots of different, they've used curve with an E and a K, they've used Cara, they've used Bogen, chicane with a C or SCH, lots of different spellings here, and I would think they would all be German, but I'm a little surprised why they're not all just curve or turn. They're switching it up, so I appreciate that out of the track term namers for Nürburgring. A lot of the times you just get like the most generic of names. They had some fun with it.
And we did get a new follower, but unfortunately we don't have the notification sound set up on these videos, so we do not get to hear Reagan's "Oh baby." But we do get confirmation in chat that Kurt has wheel problems. So
that sucks.
We will send our condolences to Kurt and his wheel as we go to our overview.
All right, so once again, we've got an AOR fastest lap of 51.9, which is stupid. Real fastest lap of 54.1, which is much more reasonable. Anyone doing a 51 here in this game is just get out of here. You don't belong in the best racing team. That would not be much of a race for you. Into turn 1, the Yokohama. It's definitely an opportunity for overtaking longest, or the braking zone off the longest straight on the track. Into the Mercedes Arena. Lap 1, maybe you can have some fun in here. Tough to make real overtakes in the actual race, but definitely an opportunity to set yourself up through there. They call it an overtaking opportunity. Well, good luck. Turn 4, definitely an exit to be aware of. You're going on to essentially the back straight, as there's not a lot of straight lines here on the front half of this track. Into turn 5 to turn 6, very tricky braking zone on turn 6. You don't have a lot of time to get over to the left after turn 5, but a little bit of time to breathe here going down into the turn 7 Dunlop curve. A very, very long, slow turn that you do not want to get wrong, because you can very easily go off into the gravel. Do not take the Schumacher S's the way this person is. That is not a good line. I'm sure if there was a car on your left, maybe it's a little bit smarter, but you do not want to go too wide through the Michael Schumacher curves. Into the Michelin curve. Michelin curve, definitely another one that you want to do or take right so you can set yourself up nice and wide for turn 11. Turn 11 going on to the back straight here. Lots of time. There's definitely a lot of room to try to get yourself set up for an overtake into the maybe the trickiest part of the track here, the chicane, the NGK chicane. Very, very difficult chicane. Very easy to go wide on exit into the Coca-Cola curve. Interesting. Okay. Well, this race is sponsored by Coca-Cola. Have a drink and enjoy it.
It was hard to decide what to label those corner names because every single map that I found, like, none of them was consistent. Each had at least one corner that was different to the previous one. So I went with a smorgasbord combination of different ones. Basically, if a map had it named, I threw it on there.
You might want to change over to the race screen. There we go. Thank you.
I was going to.
Okay. It was just, it was a black screen. People might be like, oh, I guess the stream's over. Thank God for the ghost cars at the moment, as we've got some drivers having some fun.
I was gonna say we did have a good 3 or 4 car, not even pile up, but all inside each other while you were doing that race overview. So definitely, what am I looking for?
You can find a replay of that moment on our Bez Racing Team OnlyFans if you want to see all of our drivers inside of each other again. On to turn, what is that, turn 8?
11.
Turn 11. Just skipped right past that one. We've got 18 drivers out. Big race win for Laguerre Simon, also known as Simon, because I haven't actually asked the proper pronunciation. Lots of silver drivers, lots of pro drivers, so definitely a lot of points on the board available for them. Simon, as he mentioned in the chat, is going to be going for some overall points. Simon, a pretty long-standing driver here, definitely has the pace to challenge for some overall points when things go his way. So we will be excited to see what he's able to do with nothing to lose, and really only some fun overall points to gain.
In DDO, we are looking at Paul Kravs, but now Nico Dudek. I was going to say, we want to see the front row.
I swapped it over there.
Our drivers are 2x2 as they approach the green flag. We're going to see that flagman waving right now.
And there they go. We've got, that is a weird camera I decided to change to. It looks like a really good release for Dudek. Dudek out in P1. Lots of drivers in that 3, 4, 5, 6. All thinking about going for it. That Porsche in the middle with the dive of the century. That's up to P3 for Pashov. That was awesome. Great job there. That was fun. We got Richard Walters and even Tristan Stork. Dudek, unfortunately, had to be a little cautious there and was the big loser in that start, down to P6. But damn, Pashov. That was neat. That was a neat move there. I'm excited. I'm excited to be back. Lots of drivers out here. Missed what happened in the back. It seems like...
Oh, there was a McLaren. Flew off.
Oh, it's Stork. Oh my god. I can't even click on him. He's dropping down so fast. There he is. Yes, Stork has gone off. We can do a quick 30-second here. Yeah.
Yep. Let's get a helicam on this bad boy.
Yeah, so we've got Stork here. We'll keep an eye out. Currently, things at the front... definitely close, but they've already spaced out into sort of a line here. And yes, Stork just, I guess, missed the braking point, something like that. And wow, has to wait for everyone to go by, including another driver who made a mistake. That looks like it was Bosman or Simon who unfortunately jumped away. So we now have here, Dudek is able to make it back up to P5. We'll just go helicam because there's way too much going on for a close shot at the moment. Little bit of space here. It is Porshakov up in P1, 1.5 seconds to the next driver in Richard Walters.
Oh, that was Carl. Carl lost it.
Carl lost it. Carl's all the way back. Oh man, and he is dropping just all the way down. P14, P15, 16, 17. He is in last place. Let's see what happened to Carl, which does bolt Richard Walters and Pashov in a P2 and 3. Wait, no, sorry. Nordell was in P4, I believe. Going through the chicane. Oh, and yeah, goes too far to the inside on that first part of the chicane, hits the bump, and goes all the way around. Ooh.
That was a scary sight.
It was, but able to survive. Pros are definitely getting wiped out. Yeah, we've got Nordell at the bottom, Nikkonen in P12, and...
Oh, there's another car going off!
And that was a high-up driver!
Oh, that was Richard!
Walters going off. Maybe it's...
oh my gosh.
Oh my goodness. Lots of drivers just having trouble here in this first lap.
And that means Pashov started, I think, P5 up to P2 now.
Wow. Yeah, Walters, this was a small one. Walters is still in P4. So able to survive, but yeah, just goes wide there and has to be very, very careful. That could have been bad as he comes across the track. Not really able to stop on that grass or find any grip, but Walters is still able to hold on to P4. He was able to get going pretty quick, but does have Magnus Hauke B right on his butt.
And Porshakov has been relinquished with all that chaos behind, almost 4 seconds ahead of Rosen Pashov in P2. Pashov, it looked like, I think the gaps are stabilizing now. It was showing through the chicane, Pashov made up quite a bit of time, but I think that's just ACC TV being a little silly. But yeah, Pashov with that huge dive going into T1 was involved last race in a little bit of calamity with T1 shenanigans, but has stayed clean and importantly kept it clean through, what is that, T5, T6, where we saw a good couple of drivers go off.
Yeah, definitely a wild race there. Steven, yeah, you want to get rid of that promotion, and then if you want to open up the position delta, because I'm very curious to see how things have shaken out here in the numbers. We've got, apart from that first or P1 gap, we've got pretty small gaps all the way down. We actually have Prevo here. It looks like having a bit of a fight with Stork going side by side. Let's get the helicam going, and that is Prevo having to relinquish the position. Stork with a nice move there after a rough start. But yeah, Stork still down 8 spots. Nordell down 11 spots, able to get past Hauben here, making his way back. Big winner, of course, is Pashov, all the way up to P2. But some smaller winners down there with Hauke, Volkov, Chan, Krabs, Macy, and Thornton also having some very nice race fights. Just able to take advantage of all these drivers falling off and maybe keeping themselves clean, making up a spot where they can.
Indeed. Nico Dudek, I think, is going to be very happy that Richard and Carl both had issues. Nico lost some spots on lap 1 and is now back up to 3rd. Only has Pashov in between him and Andre in P1. We see Charlie just getting out of the way of, looks like Tristan Stork there.
Well, it was Nikkonen that he got out of the way of, but that was real racing there. That was Stork taking advantage of Thornton getting out of the way for Nikkonen. Nikkonen, of course,
Thornton lost it a little.
Oh, he did. Maybe a 10-second here. I just done a 10-second.
I hit 30.
What is it doing? It's doing a 30.
Yeah, so that was Stork.
I'm pretty sure that was Thornton trying to relinquish the spot to Nikkonen, and Stork taking advantage. And here, through that chicane, things got a little bumpy there for Thornton, and able to survive and it looks like keep the position there in front of... wait, what the heck? I might be... I have no idea what's going on. No, Stork and Nikkonen seem to have had an incident, because now that is Charlie right in front. And here's Nikkonen. He's down... he's had an incident.
It went to Chan.
Why did it go to Chan?
T1. They collided.
Lots of messiness here at the back as we've got drivers of all paces trying to sort of sort themselves out. Yeah, here we've got through in the Mercedes arena. There's one driver. Oh, Nikkonen just sort of pulling off to the side.
I don't know if he thought that would clear him of a penalty.
I wonder if he's got some damage that he wasn't ready for, or what. But yeah, that was Nikkonen maybe just taking a second and saying, I got to regroup. I wouldn't be surprised if he's just trying to get out of the way. Here we've got Dudek just a couple.
Oh my God, Pashov off.
Pashov now goes off. Well, that's going to be Dudek who got the poor start.
And Tristan and
in the back again. Charlie Thornton now is the one who has had the issues. Let's do another replay. We keep on watching the back of the field as Dudek keeps jumping forwards from P6 back to P2. Let's see what happens here. Charlie going off, going wide, coming back around in last place. And oh no! As he jumps back in, I guess I'm not sure who the other driver was, but they were not clearly expecting...
That was Stork.
Yeah, I don't think they were expecting Charlie to be coming back on track there, and we're turning in as if there was no one to be driving besides. So really unfortunate stuff there, and that is once again Charlie, who seems to be a little cursed in this league with another incident that has put him down into last place and into the pits.
Into the pits, going to be trying to clear his pit stop requirement, maybe fix some damage that he got in that altercation. With Pashov going off, which we weren't able to get a replay of, that allowed Nico to get up into P2, but at this point, nearly, the timing screen is showing between 10 and 6.5 seconds, so I don't know what to believe, but definitely not the gap Nico would have wanted behind Andre this early in the race.
No, we'll see. I don't think Nico's had a clean lap yet. His fastest is a 54.8, and Porshikov has done a 53.927 fast lap currently. For race pace is phenomenal. So we'll have to see once Nico's able to get going and start actually trying to make up that time, what his pace is looking like. It seems he's already down to a 5 to 6 second gap. So yeah, ACC TV is being weird, but I do think that Dudek is just really pushing right now to try to get back into that fight for first. Although again, back up to 8. I don't know if that was a mistake or if that's just an oddity, but here it looks like we've got a 54.4 for Porshikov last lap, 54.375 for Dudek. So right bang on, they are exactly even on their previous lap times.
Oh, I was trying to do a lap time comparison at the bottom.
Oh. I apologize profusely.
No, all good. But yeah, just looking at that last lap. Oh, it's the autopilot. Let's stop you, Mr. Autopilot. I'm trying to look at Porshikov and Dudek. Finally, that last lap. Yeah, so as Reagan mentioned, Porshikov with a 54.4. Nico had the fastest overall Sector 1, 400ths faster than Porshikov, but a little slower in Sector 2, and then Nico with a big gain in that final sector. Their second sector and final sector were complete opposites in terms of gaps, so it was just that 400th advantage that Nico had that put him over Andre that last lap. So we'll have to keep an eye on that gap between those two drivers, but 400ths per lap is not going to be the kind of gains that Nico is going to want to be making if he wants to catch Porshikov anytime soon.
Agreed.
And Mr. Autopilot really, even before going between Andre and Nico, wanted to show us Darren Chan. And as soon as we turn Autopilot back on, it takes us back to Darren Chan, probably because we have one of the closest battles on track going on right now. Darren with Daniel Volkov. Volkov going for a move, sends it deep into the chicane.
That's... Darren getting it, and I think that's Paul Krebs there Indeed. On the inside. Darren not realizing that. That move from that ain't it, right?
Yeah, on the straight, Volkov was flashing. I don't think was happy with Darren's pace, but and off. Ooh, it's Paul gets into the back of Volkov. Darren into off. We have a pileup in T1.
And
Oh no!
And autopilot rightfully jumps away to show the sole survivor there, Kyrian Macy. Oh, this is unfortunate to see. I don't like this. We've got Paul Krobs there on the inside of Darren Chan and Volkov, who I'm pretty sure was able to make the pass off track, but not something mentioned. And then so that's the problem. Paul Krobs just a little late on the brakes, carrying speed that you would expect if there was not a car in front. But I guess he maybe was not expecting Volkov to be going through the turn at that pace, was expecting to have some open air, and that is the result. So not great stuff. Lots of cars.
Oh, it's Haubin. Autopilot takes us over, and that's a spin.
Yeah, that is a spin. Nice livery.
That is a very nice livery. I don't think we had one for him last race, but he did upload one for this one, so we are now going to see with his pretty McLaren what happened here with, I believe that's Tristan Stork behind. And yeah, just gets off a little bit.
I think maybe just braking a little late, knowing that there's a car behind trying to fight him, and there's a little bit too much speed through. Here we've got making a move on a back marker.
Yes, getting past Charlie Thornton there. But yeah, no, Stork just putting the pressure on Haubin there. I mean, good racing, no contact, just showing the nose a little bit. As we see Volkov and Darren with contact.
These two are just really getting into it, aren't they?
Yeah, Volkov, again, was flashing around this same place on track a lap or two ago. Not happy with Darren's pace, but has not been able to, I don't think, cleanly get by. Had to go off track to make the pass previously, and now sends it up the final corner and gets another piece of Darren's Ferrari. So
yeah, definitely
Volkov,
driving aggressively. I mean, you know, that he stayed on track. That is a legal overtake. I can't be too mad about that one. But
at least a little more legal. I think the stewards will still be looking at that one, but
bit of a send. Certainly an aggressive move, an optimistic move. But it does look like he was in control, so more so than he was going off the grass on the chicane. Regardless, I think we've got some... maybe we've got a bit of a rivalry brewing here in the early stages of both the race and the season.
In DDO, we see Tristan Stork being shown the white flag. That's going to indicate that he's going a little slower than normal, maybe just getting caught up. Oh, Darren showing a yellow flag, but for no reason.
Maybe just maybe a little kiss.
And Paul Krobs now showing yellow. I think Paul Krobs might have been genuine. Let's maybe take a look at Paul. And that's
there is
Paul's...
Paul. Man, maybe we shouldn't have gone to replay, because I think more stuff just happened behind Paul. Because Paul's now back up to 11th. He was in 11th and then dropped and then went right back. So let's we can see some of what happens here. And then it seems like we've missed some stuff after it. So there's Paul just going off into the grass.
And Tristan.
Oh, boy, that is Tristan in the background. Not expecting that. And then okay, so yeah, I thought maybe there was some more shenanigans going on. Shenanigans abound here.
So if that was an accident and there was collision, can we... What is this?
It looks like it's going to replay. Let's see what happens here.
This says accident, but I don't know...
Richard Walters. And Richard had an accident of some kind.
Oh, that's Charlie Thornton rejoining. So I was going to say, Richard had no one around him. Who did he hit? And there was a car there. Jump scare.
There was a car there.
But that was not who
that wasn't
we were
even
expecting.
I mean, it's early days in this season, but my goodness, this is getting grimy.
So
this ain't your grandfather's racing series.
This is Nikkonen with Stork behind. Stork had spun. Nikkonen got off track, and they collided. That's still not even the incident we were expecting. So there was just tons of taps up and down the field. So that was it. Okay, here is finally where we're going to see what happened between Nikkonen, and I can't even tell you who the car was ahead of him.
So both drivers into the gravel.
So, well, Stork is behind, and Stork spun, and then it's Bryce Prevost.
Oh, Prevost and Nikkonen then going deep. Oof.
Wow.
Oh, no. And now do we have Richard Walters showing a tap?
Oh, my gosh.
Let's... You know what? I don't even... it seems like he's okay. Here's Charlie.
Oh, we're already replaying.
And Charlie... No, Charlie kept it on. It looked like maybe he was in the grass. Here's here is
ooh, just a little tap there between the
tap there. Yeah, nothing that really hurt the drivers, but just enough to look at. So we've got here Macy right behind. That is Carl Nordell.
And Paul and Charlie, what happened?
No, we just want to watch some racing, please.
Okay, and let's throw it onto Helicam. So this is, Paul exiting the pit lane. Just came in to fix some damage. And...
I guess, so Charlie...
It looked like Charlie went wide, or deep.
Yeah, I think Charlie was carrying... warmed up tire pace and not expecting Paul Krobs on those cold tires to have to be a little bit slower than you normally would.
And I think Paul returned to garage. I think he is going to be retiring from this race.
Paul has had enough. Yeah, this has been a bit of a grindy one. I'm very sorry to our stewards who are going to have to deal with all of this, because there's going to be a lot to see, but still a lot of racing yet to come, and we'll just have to see how that all goes. Did we have is the Google Doc working?
Let me check. I'm just getting the lap 1 while we have it, because something that we learned last race is for the hour 15-minute races that we had before, it worked fine, but after 75 minutes it starts deleting prior incidents, so we lost all of the lap 1 ones. So I'm just making sure I get a screenshot of that in ACC TV and looking at our Google Drive. Yes, we are capturing incidents, so that makes at least the job a little easier for the stewards, but still quite a bit that they're going to have to review. Tristan Stork going up the inside of Legendary Simon there, a little McLaren on Mercedes action.
Yes.
And up front, we haven't been able to check on Porshakov and Dudek in a while, but that gap's still around 8 seconds. There has not been any progress made on Nico's part.
Why don't I give you a little pace update here, because we've got Porshakov is actually lapping, his last lap was a 54.567, and Dudek with a 55.285. So it looks like Porshakov, whether because of lower fuel or a different strategy, whatever it might be, or just better pace, is theoretically going to be increasing that gap throughout the next couple laps. We've got Pashov at 55.3 as well, so with that Dudek time.
So I think that might have been a mistake in Sector 2, because Nico was faster by almost 2.5 tenths in Sector 1, faster by a third of a second, and no! That's Porshakov off!
Porshakov going off, and able to keep it out of the wall, and back on track pretty quick, but that has dropped the gap to only about 4 seconds here now that it's set up, and they are both on the front straight at the same time, so we now very likely have a race brewing quicker than expected, because you know what, Dudek just did a 53.995, so back into those 53s. Very, very interesting development there. I also want to make mention of, I believe it was Stork, was a driver who did a 55 last lap. The drivers around him doing 56s. This lap is a 56.5, the last lap there for Kristen Stork, but Kristen seems like one of the drivers who may be working his way back through the field. You can see he's down 6 places from the start of the race, so not a great race start there for Stork, but has the pace to keep things going if he is able to, as we've got Marcus Ness here making a mistake which allows Darren Chan back through.
And with all that, I'm going to switch from position delta to car numbers so we can look at some class standings. So pros all at the front, apart from Paul Krabs and Nikkonen, who are down towards the bottom of the field. Our 1 AM driver, Simon, great job leading this race here in P12 overall. And Kieran Macy, who we have not, I don't think, talked that much about, is currently leading the silver class. Darren started second in class, still P2, but only 3 seconds behind Kieran. So that could be a battle to watch later, as Carl is closing in on the rear end of Daniel Volkov. That could be a fight for P6 coming up.
And maybe a fight to watch because of...
Porshakov! Off again.
Porshakov has gone off. Porshakov is off, and Dudek up to P1. Let us see what happened here. Just a disaster for Porshakov. Shades of Marcus Murray at Laguna Seca, race 1 2 seasons ago. So bring that
now that's a reference.
I know. I don't know if he's here, but I remember it very clearly. And going through this chicane. Ooh, and it looks like the back tire caught. So this is the second time that he has gone off on that chicane, and there we see that is Dudek. Porshakov looks like pulling up there for a second, maybe to let Pashov pass. That is P3 now for Porshakov. And we just missed here as we see Paul Krabs. Hello. Sorry to see you in the chat. Obviously, we'd rather have you on track, but a rough one for you. Here we've got Carl Nordell is able to make the move happen on Volkov. And that is P6 for Nordell after a rough start. For him, he is working his way back through the field.
Yeah, and that might be one of the first passes without contact we've seen in quite some time.
Yeah, it has been a bit of a rough one, hasn't it? We've got here, Porshakov still has some phenomenal pace, even with tires that I'm sure are not very happy with him. And fighting with Rosen Pashov through the Schumacher S's. That, of course, being the renowned driver Ralf Schumacher that it is named after.
You said Mick earlier.
No, it was Ralf. It's always been like, when you think of the Schumachers, you think of Ralf Schumacher.
I was trying to think of some other Schumacher. I couldn't think of one. And then I was going to try and make a shoemaker joke. But what isn't a joke is this move that Porshakov was trying to get on the outside of Pashov there. Don't think that was ever going to work.
A move through the chicane is
bold.
There is not room for 2 cars there. I don't really blame Pashov for saying, "What are you doing? I'm taking the line because there's nothing else I can do here." Was out front, was of course allowed to be there. We've got here Porshakov trying to break and go through, but there just really isn't much that can be done there. Tough to say whether Porshakov was owed the space or not. One, I guess, for the stewards to decide. But it does seem that in this replay, hopefully it ends soon, because we've got fighting side by side, I think, or at least Porshakov was briefly in front of Pashov and now back behind. So maybe Porshakov really trying to get in front and maybe making some mistakes here with that frustration, which is very reasonable to have given the race he's had in the last maybe 10 minutes of that race. Has not been his favorite. So we'll see how this goes, as it looks like there he goes for another dive down, just not allowing for any opportunity for defense there. So good aggressive move. It seems it was tough to see from the angle what the overview was, but regardless, that is Porshakov back up to P2. Does seem like maybe a touch of a touch, but they're both, at least for now, driving and off, both still on the podium.
Yeah, Contact was registered, so that'll be, again, up for the stewards to review. Tristan Stork, it shows that he improved by like 3 spots. It's showing Simone, Bosman, and Hauben all lost, so I'm not sure exactly what happened there, or if it was maybe a little bit of internet being internet. But yeah, I was going to say, between Porshakov and Volkov, the Ferraris today are very aggressive with their moves. Absolutely sending it today.
Yeah, it does seem like it. Maybe emboldened by the Lewis Hamilton signing. They're trying to show their stuff.
Trying to show their stuff. Well, I think loser in all of that battling was, unfortunately, Porshakov. That allowed Nico Dudek to pull now a 12-second gap. That was just about 7 or 8 seconds a couple laps ago. So all that fighting with Rosen Pashov trying to reclaim P2 did a favor for Nico Dudek, trying to defend his race win from Barcelona, as Marcus Ness was able to get ahead of Darren Chan. They're going into T1. A very nice move. Again, good to see no contact there. Magnus Haukeby, new driver for this season, is trying to defend against Richard Walters. That gap less than a second, so we'll be keeping an eye on that as well. But yeah, looking up and down the field, it looks like gaps have stabilized, or at least increased, to not be everyone right next to each other. So all the excitement of the contact we've been seeing recently, hopefully will start calming down.
You know, as soon as you say that, we've got Nikon here showing a yellow flag. So clearly all the excitement is not done after all. Check a little replay here, see what happened to Nikon.
So this was T5 and 6, where we've seen drivers go off previously, but that is not where he went off. He's going to be approaching the Dunlop
I think we all know what happens here on the Dunlop curve. An easy turn to get wrong, and there, just sets up far out to the left and doesn't get on the brakes in time and realizes, I just got to maybe wait for some drivers.
I'm surprised he just fully stopped. Didn't even try to keep it moving and make a rejoin attempt on the outside.
Well, you know what? Nikkonen, as you can see from the standings here, a pro driver down with Paul Krabs at the bottom with the rest of the pro drivers at the top. So not the best race for Nikkonen. And I'm sure there is maybe just some frustration and a realization of the limits that the points haul he's going to be able to get for the rest of this race. It would take a very, very big, we'll call it a miracle, for him to be able to make it back with some damage on that car. Now, of course, pit stops still left for a lot of our drivers. Nikkonen has done a pit stop with a 39.6 second stop time, so relatively fresh tires, and I believe that was within the pit window, so can go to the end if he wants, which does mean he might be able to make up some time on pit stops, as our bottom 4 drivers are the only drivers who have done a pit stop so far. So if he is able to maybe get some pace, maybe settle in, stop going off track, might be able to make up some spots there later on in the race. Lots left to go, 50 minutes still, as these are longer races than last season. So yeah, we'll just have to see what happens there for Nikkonen as the race progresses.
Yeah, longer races by 5 minutes. I know that's a little bit of a change. And the return of endurance races. I don't think we had any enduros last season, correct?
I don't believe so. I certainly don't remember any. Endurance racing is always fun. Adds a bit of a new element to the
Porshakov
going into the pits. And once again, we did mention that it did seem like, based on pace, maybe Porshakov was on a lighter fuel load, which would be supported by this early pit stop. That being said, his tires have also just kind of been through the ringer here. So that may be playing a factor as well as he goes and tries to get some fresh rubber on.
Yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on the timing of this pit stop. Could be doing fuel only, but if he's coming in this early for fuel, then he is most likely going to be taking tires as well. As Nikkonen again is showing a yellow flag. Let's maybe check a replay on.
He needs to be stopped on track. Yeah, we can watch a replay here, but I have a feeling that so he goes off there.
This is T10 and 11.
T10 and a little shaky there. And let's see, he's coming in to the chicane. He is slowing down. Yeah, I think that may just be... And Nikkonen, yeah, he might actually be in the pits now. I think maybe this is Nikkonen just realizing it is not my day. Though he is still driving.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's there.
I take that back. But regardless, it does not seem to be Nikkonen's day. It is an unfortunate race there for him. Pro class driver who's just not been able to show off his stuff today. Now, again, as I just mentioned, lots of time left in this race, so maybe he's able to settle in. But yeah, definitely a big hole that he has dug himself into that he is going to have to dig himself out of.
Absolutely. Portugal also in a hole of sorts. He is in a big hole between himself and Tristan Stork ahead, but he is going to be loving that, being in a bit of free air. Fresh fuel, fresh tires. He's going to be able to try and set some good laps here. Hopefully once Nico hits, he will be a little bit closer. At least for Portugal. Nico will not want to have Portugal any closer to him after that pit cycle. So we'll just have to keep an eye on pace and on pit stops when drivers are going to be coming in. But last race, Nico did go pretty deep. I think it was maybe about 45 or 50 minutes in was when Nico made his pit stop. So expect him to not come in for another 20 or 25 minutes or so. He is going to be just charging in this clean air that he is in right now, trying to extend the gap between himself and Portugal.
Yes, certainly agree with you there. Nürburgring, not the most aggressive track on your tires, certainly one that you can employ some go-long strategies on. I'm surprised that he was able to do it at Barcelona, because I know Barcelona just eats up your tires. So if he's able to do it there, as we see Halben here, maybe I'll do a quick 10-second replay, just see what happens to him. Goes around on the, what turn is that? That is the Warsteiner curve that we see Halben going around on. Yeah, if you can pull off the go-long strategy at Barca, you can certainly pull it off at the Nürburgring.
In DDO. And while we've been talking about the Nürburgring, I was also going to ask, what are your thoughts on the Nordschleife coming to ACC?
That's exciting. That's very exciting. It is a fun track. It is a long track. It's a famous track. Every single person here knows the Nordschleife. It's certainly interesting, and it might pose a challenge to our... to having, you definitely want a lot of cars out there. It's a track that with only 18 drivers, you might get a little lost in the race. And of course, it's a track where you make a mistake early on. If you have a bump early on in the lap, well, you're having to do the next 10 minutes if you got some damage, trying to limp yourself back to the pits. Now, obviously, the lap times ideally will be shorter than 10 minutes, but I mean, I'm never going to complain about this game getting more content, and especially a track as famous as the Nordschleife. It's just going to be fun to drive.
Something also fun to drive is Richard Walters trying to make the pass on Magnus Haukeby. Tried to get it up through T1, went deep, but Magnus was able to do the over-under there to perfection and maintain that third spot. So we're going to keep an eye on this very nice liveried white BMW of Richard, trying to chase down that forest green and gold McLaren of Magnus.
Yes, very pretty fight going on here between these two drivers for the final podium position.
Well, I think at least podium position right now, once they make their pit stop and
making way back and blah blah blah. We can dream, or they can dream more. Doesn't affect me much. I just want to see some fun racing, which seems like we have going on here. As Richard, just sort of poking his head out a little bit, wants to try to make a move as we've jumped away from Halben, or jumped away to Halben, and might be for an incident here.
Is Halben going off at the chicane, it looks like. That's been a problem spot for some folks today. coming up through T.
Oh, just knows he has to back out early, knows that he's not able to make that move happen.
A little bit of a squirrely rear end on that McLaren, it looked like, and at least keeps it out of the wall. Good catch, but not what he would have wanted to happen. And Volkov, did Volkov make a pit stop recently?
Volkov has made a pit stop, yes. Yes, Volkov has done a pit stop.
That makes sense. I think had a little bit of damage. He was stationary for 48 seconds. If you're only taking, it is.
Oh, I need to clip your nails. Oh my goodness.
Ooh. I clipped them a few days ago.
You clipped my cat's nails?
No, my nails.
No, it was my cat.
Oh, I thought you were saying you needed to clip my nails.
No, I just need to clip this cat's nails who's decided to make some biscuits on my chest.
Ah.
Yes. Yes, some very painful biscuits.
My cat is just oversleeping on my office chair.
Very cute. I might have to move this guy over to my sim rig, which they've already covered in hair. But they've also covered my desk and my pants and everything in my place. So, only so much you can do. Isn't that right, you monster?
You monster, as Richard gets a little squirrely through the Ralph Schumacher S there. Taking maybe a little more curve than he wanted to, or maybe just trusting the suspension in that Beamer. I will say, anytime I see the front of Richard's car and I see those LEDs that say wall, like we see there, it makes me feel like I'm looking at myself, because our last names start with the same 3 letters, and I always get slightly confused before I remember that it's Richard in the car and not me.
Yeah, I get confused when people drive, and I think it's me when I'm not currently driving too. That's a normal thing that happens to people, so I understand.
Yeah, it gives me a little out-of-body experience for a second.
Now I have to apologize to the folks watching, because I will be leaving in 15 minutes to go get myself a tattoo. So
Gasp.
We'll be leaving Steven to his lonesome to bring up the back half of this race.
No, Mikey, no, Mikey, that was so not right.
My name is actually Reagan, not Mikey, but I understand the sentiment.
That is how I feel about you having to leave.
You know, that's how I feel about having to leave. But the deposit is non-refundable. So, my hands are tied.
I mean, you could have always just gone a different time. If you really cared about the stream.
I will admit, I thought the appointment was at 4:30. It is at 2:30. So, that one's on me a little bit. That's my bad.
Silly, silly, silly. You're almost as dumb as our viewers.
Almost, but that's a low bar to clear. Thank you so much for everyone who's sticking around, by the way, on our lazy little Saturday evening / afternoon. I don't think it's morning for anyone. Dudek with a very nice 53.662. Yeah, putting on a clinic here. With old tires. That is a lap to be happy about.
And Porshikov not slugging around. Oh, Volkov and Halbin. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, let's. Okay, we've got something going on. We actually have car number 17. It looks like at a moment as well, but that was overshadowed by this much larger moment. So let's see what happened here. Through the chicane, a classic place for things to go wrong, but that was neat and tidy. Into turn 1, goes a little bit deep, which means that you've got... it was nice of them to turn him all the way back around.
Indeed it was, but then I wonder if had some issues getting the car restarted, if he stalled?
Very, very possibly. Yeah, we've now got... oh boy, we should be prepped for something to happen, because we now have Darren Chan 0.4 seconds away from Stork, and his best friend Volkov 2 seconds behind. So that'll be something to watch out for. What was a relatively tame 10 minutes is now setting itself up for some real problem fights. We'll see how our drivers manage them this time. Darren just backing off a little bit from Stork. Stork, of course, a very fast driver there, but Darren has some pace himself.
Indeed, falling off a little bit off the back of Tristan Stork there. We had some drivers into the pits. Rosen Pashoff, Richard Walters, and Legris Simon are in. Charlie Thornton, also down the order, is in again. He was in earlier this race, about 15 minutes in, I want to say. So taking another pit stop. I don't know if that, how long he's been sitting there, if like Nikon and Krabs, if that is his form of retiring. No, he is out. He is coming back out on track.
Yeah, interestingly, only a 27-second pit stop. So that is not enough time for tires. If ACC TV is being accurate, then, and you know what, that would make sense because this is actually his second pit stop chart. So maybe just tires, maybe just damage. Unsure exactly what happened there. So regardless, interesting situations. We have Hauben is just a little squirrely on turn 1, but is able to get past Simon, who's come out of the pits on E14, so not too bad for Simon there in the AM class, and has lots of cars in front. Well, I was going to say lots of cars in front that haven't pit, but we've actually seen a flurry of pit stops, and it's actually only the top 4 and Gary Bosman and Hauben who are without pit stops at the moment.
Yeah, we did clear the halfway mark about 3.5 minutes ago, so I think that's where we're going to see most of our drivers come in. So Darren, I think, went a little wide there, maybe? But again, Nico did go deep. I think most other drivers, pit just around the halfway mark, if not a couple minutes after. Nico, one of our last hitters on that previous race at Barcelona. So we'll keep an eye on it, but with a 38-second gap to Magnus Haukeba behind, I don't think there's going to be much competition for Nico apart from Porshigov.
Yeah, it does seem that way. Porshikov, last lap, a 53.8, so definitely has some pace, and a 12-second gap to Macy up in P4, so a little bit of room as well to show off that pace. But yeah, Dudek continues to churn in at 54.087 last lap, so not slowing down at all with those tires wearing out.
And the Ferrari of Volkov getting ever larger in the rearview mirror of Darren Chan. We'll want to keep an eye on this for any potential spiciness.
Yes, we definitely will. We know how Volkov has attacked that matchup before. And attack, I think, is a very good word to describe how that fight went out.
Yeah, I'm not sure he knows that the front end of that car is not made of indestructible material. It is just carbon fiber, which is strong, but can break. So he is he has been treating it like what's an analogy for something that you don't care about that much?
A hammer.
He's been treating it like a car that is just virtual and not actually costing real-world money to fix.
Eloquent. That was an eloquent. We see Porshikov, 53.612, fastest lap of the race. So Porshikov continues to show pace. Definitely not out of this fight yet. As we see here, Stork, I believe, getting past a back marker, or at least fighting.
That's Charlie. Trying to get around. There's some McLaren on McLaren action.
This is an interesting place. Do you really want to be on the inside there? No, you do not.
And they both lose out. Charlie goes a little squiggly, and that throws Stork into the grass and around. Stork is not going to be happy with that.
No, Stork, it seems like trying to maybe pressure Charlie into a mistake through that chicane, but pressures both of them into a mistake, and he gets the worst of it. So that is Stork now back into P12, and that is Volkov, which we haven't mentioned, now right on the back of Darren with Charlie in there.
And gets into Charlie.
Volkov with a little tap, maybe? It didn't
Yeah.
show anything.
No,
Oh,
there it is.
Yep, that was a tap between Thornton and Volkov.
Yeah, so that is Volkov again with another little contact, and Charlie getting into a couple of drivers. I wanted to try and pull. I think there were changes to the sporting regulations. I wanted to try and see what the rules were for drivers a lap down. So give me a second to try and find that.
I believe in you. Oh. Here there's Darren Shan on the inside. Doesn't fight too hard with Volkov, who has now gotten past. Looks like Richard Walters is up to P6 after Macy goes into the pits. Yeah, Bosman as well. So Bosman is not pit yet, but Bosman in P7. So I actually missed that one. I did not realize that Bosman is not pit yet. But Bosman having a quiet race there in the at the top of Silver, but of course has to do a pit stop. So a little bit of time that he will of course lose once he decides to go in. Most of the drivers behind, save for Halbin, have done their pit stop.
So I did find the rule book. The rules that we have now for blue flag cars are a blue flag car has to let the faster car pass when either of these are true. So A, the faster car is consistently within half a second behind the blue flag car over the course of a lap, or B, if the faster car is within 0.3 seconds behind the blue flag car on a straight. So I think Stork would have been thinking, hey, I am definitely within 0.3 seconds of Charlie if I'm right alongside. Charlie needs to be stepping aside here, and Charlie was not doing so, and is flying. What? Yeah. Is that a replay?
That was a replay. I noticed. Unfortunately, I did a 10-second thinking I was fast enough, but that could have used a 30-second after all. There's Thornton down. I guess he's been in 16th place for a little while yet. Here's an interesting development. We have... Oh, why is it not letting me change? Darren Shan continuing to fight back against Volkov. Volkov in P10, Darren in P11. Different classes for the two of them, but it does seem that Darren is still able to keep up some amount of pace. Maybe Volkov there starting to fly away, but Darren trying to stick around as much as possible.
And Nico Pitt, correct?
So Nico Pitt only for fuel, 20.5 second and 23 second pit stop. So Nico is going to be on the same tires, whereas Porshakov a 33.3 second pit stop. Now Porshakov had damage, so it could theoretically be that he only pit for fuel, but then damage pushed that time up a little bit. Hard to say. But we've got Dudek here. It says going slow, and Dudek does have a driver in front of him, who of course will need to get out of the way. And that is Charlie in the back. So Charlie did get out of the way there. But regardless, now with pit stops shaken out, we've got Porshakov about 30 seconds back with 30 minutes left in the race. So that is a big gap to make up. But Nico is on old tires, and those old tires have now cooled off and are going to have to be re-warmed up, which is never good for the longevity of a tire. So maybe, just maybe, Porshakov with the fresher rubber, might be able to pull something off. I will admit I severely doubt it, but a lot easier to make a mistake on old tires than new tires. So we will just have to see what happens. Dudek will still need to have some nerves here, or hold on to his nerves if he wants an easy victory here.
Yeah, with how many incidents the leaders have been having, primarily with off tracks, it wouldn't surprise me if there could be something spicy that happens that allows Porshakov a chance at least to catch up by a few seconds if Nico does go off. But between last race and this race, I think Nico has been one of our most consistent drivers, both at keeping it on track, able to pass lap down cars. He's just a very, very aware driver, so I don't foresee any major issues, but at the same time, last race I was talking pit strategy, and I was like, I don't think this driver's going to pit soon, and then they pit immediately after I said that. So drivers just seem to do the exact opposite of what I say, so I'm saying Nico is going to have an incident-free race, and he'll probably wipe out the rest of the field just for me saying that.
Every single driver in a huge mess. Of course, you're right. It's going to be a disaster, and it's all your fault.
Yeah, you can't lose the race if everyone else is stuck in the pits fixing damage.
That's a very good point, unless you are also in the pits fixing damage. That would be a very, very uninteresting race for us to commentate for the next 27 minutes. Or I should say, for you to commentate for the next 27 minutes, because I will be getting out of here, leaving you in relatively capable hands. You know, the best hands that I've got. Steven, the only other person to leave the stream in, or hands to leave the stream in. I don't really know what I'm saying. Clearly my own hands are not quite that capable. But, to summarize, goodbye.
That was a very nice summary, Reagan. Thank you for that summary and for being here. We're going to pass it over to Nico Dudek, who is right behind Magnus Haukeba here. And Magnus goes a little wide, or maybe was trying to give the position to Nico there, knowing that Magnus still has to make that pit stop. So we will, I guess, not follow this battle, because it looks like Nico will solidify that P1 position. Magnus, yet to pit, will not be able to fight. Magnus's best lap almost 3 seconds slower than Nico's, so definitely a lot more pace in that Ferrari compared to that Forest Green McLaren behind. We have Gary Bosman finally coming in for his pit stop, and will that be the final pit stop of the day? No, we have, of course, Magnus Haukeba, that's Celia Me still needing to come in, as well as Carl Nordell in the Alpha Tauri Mercedes. I never thought that would be a combination I would see. But that Alpha Tauri Mercedes going around and still staying out here, but only doing 57s. So maybe some fresh tires would be helpful for Carl to keep some pace up. We're going to have to see where he eventually comes out in the pit cycle. About 25 laps remaining with lap times around a minute 53, a minute 54. Let me just whip out the calculator here. That's 25 minutes times 60 seconds divided by, that's a lap time of 114 seconds per lap. We're looking at a little over 13 to 14 laps remaining in this race for our leader, Nico Dudek. Now about 3 seconds ahead of Magnus, who has yet to pit. Porshakov still remaining about 28, 29 seconds behind. Our autopilot takes us over to Porshakov, whose last lap was a 55.0. Contrast that to Nico Dudek, whose last lap was a 54.7. It's only about a quarter of a second between them, but that is still advantage to Nico, who again did not take tires. So Nico Dudek, either the tire whisperer of this race or just his honest setup that is very kind to its tires, not running as aggressive camber or caster or anything like that. So Nico doing a very, very good job leading this race, as we see Porshakov, pushing on the Michael Schumacher S. I actually kind of want to see a replay of that, just because of how aggressive it was. So we have Porshakov here. Let's get a better camera angle for you. Coming through the hairpin there, the Dunlop curve. Coming through, you're going to see him on this right-hander all the way up, even into the gravel a little bit. I mean, Porshikov is pushing. We could call him Pushikov if we wanted to, with how much he is trying to close that gap to Dudek now that the pit stops have concluded. So Porshikov really trying to catch back up and make something happen here. Rosen Pashoff, autopilot takes over to completing the final chicane. Has Johan Halben there in the McLaren just behind. Halben down at P16, a lap behind. That is not a battle for position. Pashoff has 8 seconds behind to Richard Walters, 22 seconds ahead to Porshikov. So Pashoff in a little bit of no man's land. Really, almost all of our cars in a little bit of no man's land, besides Tristan Stork, who is only about a second behind Darren Chan. And as Reagan was mentioning earlier, a little bit of history between those two drivers. So I think that is a battle we could come on board with and check out a little bit. We're going to see the... let's actually go to TV cam for this battle. Let's see what fans at home would truly see if they were watching this race in real life. As Charlie Thornton, I think, loses it a little bit. Let's take a quick little peek at what happened to Charlie here. Let's go to Helicam for this. So this was going to be going through Dunlop right now, but he's going to be approaching the Schumacher S. We have seen even Porshikov getting into the gravel here. A couple of drivers, Paul Krams, I think, is one who also got a little squirrely through here. And yeah, it just takes a little too much inside curve, gets into the grass. That unsettles the car through the right-handed section of it. And that is Charlie off into the gravel, having to slow down and get back up to speed there. So definitely not what he would have wanted to happen. But we have Stork now right on the back end of Darren Chan here. Ferrari versus McLaren. This is going to be a battle to behold between these drivers. Two silver class drivers. Darren will not want to give up the position that easily, just to keep the class points up, and Tristan getting right on the rear end of Darren there. A little bit of gravel for good measure, really trying to maximize the track as the two of them approach Dunlop, and Tristan a little deep. That may have been a little bit of contact between the two of them. We might have to say, yes, a contact was registered for Tristan, not for Darren, surprisingly. So they are definitely racing very, very close to one another. And it, what? Tristan driving very quickly on track, I think approaching the speed of light as he goes from being on track to in the pits to back on track instantaneously, gets a little tap on Darren. That unsettles Darren's Ferrari, and Tristan able to make the move. That was some very interesting driving. And Tristan does let Darren back through. That is very nice on you, Tristan. Some good sportsmanship there. Let's try and see what was going on between these two drivers. Maybe a little bit of helicam. We're going to see Tristan cutting to the inside. Yeah, just taps Darren. Darren, yeah, does lose the rear end. We weren't able to see that too clearly on the camera we had. Does upset, and Darren with a little bit of flashy flash. Tristan's going to pull over to the side here. Darren, I think, checks up a little bit. Not too sure what Tristan's doing. Darren does retake the position. Tristan probably knows that he could have gotten a penalty for that, does not want to deal with that. But now as they go through T1 and T2, they are fighting and getting contact again for these two drivers. Let's maybe, as Tristan completes the pass, take another 30-second replay at this battle, see how Tristan was able to make the move. So Tristan a couple car lengths behind as they approach T1. Darren going to the inside, Tristan on the outside. Tristan with the over-under is going to get a little bit of a better launch, and does, and they are almost side-by-side entering T2. Darren on the outside here. We're going to see Tristan up the inside, able to get through, swerves across, but not fully clear, gets into the front of Darren, and Darren having to squirm around a little bit, get control of that Ferrari once more, gets a little bit of curb, and that is Tristan solidly with the position now, with Nico Dudek, our leader, behind this battle now. So Darren now about a second behind, will have to fully concede that place to Tristan. And Darren, yeah, just pulls over lets Nico by, does not want to cause any sort of incident or collision with our race leader. So Darren now a couple seconds behind Tristan. That is that battle over, I think. The only other close battles we have on track right now, Gary Bosman losing, or I guess gaining. The timing for Gary Bosman, if you look at that, is all over the place. It's now showing a gap of 79. It was 35. It's going from 60 to 50 to 40. I don't know what's going on with the timing tower for Gary Bosman there, but has Simone only a second and a half behind. Now that Tristan Sork has solidified that pass on Darren, let's maybe take a look at this battle and see if Simone is going to be able to make this place up. Simone in the blue Mercedes. We saw a couple incidents at Barcelona for Simone. Nothing too terrible, but will, as we mentioned before, win the AM class, as there are no other AM drivers on track, barring any further classification changes for our drivers heading into round 3, which will be at Kyalami, I believe, if memory serves. We'll flash that graphic that we have for you at the end of the race, showing what is coming up next. Simone is closing in on the back of Bosman's red BMW here, so we could have a little bit more on-track action. But again, for the most part, gaps have remained pretty large. No huge battles going on at the moment. Porshakov now about 31 seconds, if my math is right. Now about 31 seconds behind Nico Dudek. So Dudek up front, even without new tires, able to increase the gap to Porshakov. Carl and Magnus only in between those two drivers by virtue of the two of them not having hit yet. So once they eventually come, they should be coming in relatively soon. That pit window is going to be closing within the next few minutes here. But it looks like they are pushing it off as far as possible. They are most likely only going to be taking on a little bit of fuel to get them to the end of the race. Only about maybe 8 or 9 laps remaining in this race here. But once Magnus and Carl do pit, that will relinquish Andre up into P2, but quite a ways back from our leader, Nico Dudek. So again, as Reagan and I were talking about before, unless Nico makes a hell of a mess up of these remaining laps, should be able to cruise a little bit to a second victory out of 2 races here in his start with Bez Racing Team Season 5. Taking a look, Volkov is the only pro that is not in the top 6 positions. We have 6 pros in a row, a couple of silver drivers, and then Volkov currently sitting P9. Something that we've talked about before, but don't think we've covered in the new season, is the point structure for pros. So, of course, AM drivers and silver drivers have their own classes. So even though Simone, for example, is in P13, he gets points for being in P1 in his AM championship. Same for the silver drivers, but for our pro drivers, they only earn overall points. There is no pro-specific championship. So that means Daniel Volkov, even though he is 7th place out of our pro drivers, he would only get points for finishing 9th in this race. So for the pro drivers, it is imperative that they finish as high as possible, try and get into the top 10 in points, because that's the only way they can get points. If there are higher class or higher position drivers in lower classes, those drivers are essentially stealing points from those pro drivers. So Volkov is not going to be happy that he is behind 2 silver drivers. He would have wanted to finish ahead of them to maximize his point haul today after a fairly incident-prone race from him today. Volkov also a new driver in Bez community. We see Tristan Stork showing a white flag for slowing down a little bit. I'm not exactly sure why that is flashing. He was not losing any time to Daniel Volkov, and that is actually while we were looking at Simone and Bosman. that gap has remained relatively stable, whereas Tristan has been able to catch up to Volkov. So let's go ahead and join this battle and see what can happen between the two of them. Tristan in the Hymo purple McLaren behind Volkov's Ferrari, black with some, looks like gold and pink accents. Something that also Reagan and I didn't talk too much about is that we have a very lovely sunset going on. The race started at 6 p.m. Nürburgring time, 1800 hours. That means that we are transitioning into a late evening race here, and we have a very nice sunset. That makes the cars look very, very nice. Some nice lens flare and sun rays as we jump from camera to camera watching the battle between these two drivers. So a very picturesque battle that we have going on here in Germany. Tristan able to close the gap by roughly a second here. Let's go ahead and pull up the lap time comparison between these two drivers. If ACC TV will cooperate with me, we will soon be able to see the lap time differences as they cross the line. So Tristan Stork set a 55.3, almost 9/10 faster than Daniel Volkov on that previous lap. So Tristan definitely with the pace, sending it up the inside of Tristan, and that is contact between the two drivers there. It looked like Daniel, to begin with, was going to offer the space, but ultimately came and turned into Tristan there. It looks like maybe we'll get a replay there. I don't think Tristan will be relinquishing the position here anytime soon. So let's go ahead and view a 30-second replay of what happened at T1. So let's go to Helicam. So Tristan behind is going to absolutely send it from a few car lengths behind. Daniel offers the space and then turns in. I think he thought Tristan was going to be turning in a little bit earlier than he was able to. Tristan still trying to slow the car down as they were approaching the apex of T1. So that's what happened there. Not a huge incident, but contact yet again for our drivers in this race. A very, again, contact-heavy race. As we see, that is Nico Dudek getting around Daniel Volkov and lapping. That is P10 now. So Nico is lapping the remaining points-paying positions here. Is going to be approaching Tristan Stork in just a little bit of time. So Tristan did not relinquish that position after getting contact with Volkov. That could be something that the stewards are going to have to review. Could be a penalty based on the definition for contact that results in positions lost. Could be a racing incident as well. There were quite a few incidents in the last race at Barcelona that were deemed racing incidents, no further action, or potentially just a warning. So we will, as always, leave that up to the stewards to review. That is not up for Reagan or I to decide. But as we are viewing Tristan Stork, we have Nico Dudek just behind, is going to be lapping Tristan in just a little bit. Nico crossed the line with a little over 10 minutes remaining. That's going to be about 5 or 6 laps left on the clock for Nico Dudek. So as we are approaching the end of this race, we see Korshakov showing a white flag for going slowly. I wonder, it looks like he's crossing the start-finish line now. I wonder if there was maybe a little squirreliness going through the final chicane. We've seen Korshakov twice earlier in this race lose it coming through the exit, taking a little bit too much curb. So Korshakov, it didn't look like too much curb, but he definitely went wide. That was a Ferrari doing a little bit of a lawnmower cosplay there as he approaches the end of the lap. So definitely, again, a little bit of time off for Korshakov. Not having the best runs through that final chicane, which again cost him time. That is about, again, a 28-29 second gap from Korshakov up to Dudek. So don't think that's going to be anything on the cards, but a P2 for Korshakov. Again, Magnus and Carl yet to pit. They're really pushing it close to the end of the pit window. Hopefully they'll be able to make it in time. Tristan Stork showing yellow, I think just because he was letting Nico Dudek by. Nothing too concerning there. But we do have the battle between Simon and Bosman heating up again. Richard Walters behind the two of them is a lap ahead, so the two drivers here are going to have to move out of the way sometime soon to allow Richard pass, as Daniel Volkov messed up the final chicane there. Let's take a replay look at what happened to Daniel. So this is going through the Advan curve, approaching the final chicane. This is where we saw Andre go off, and yeah, it just takes a little too much entry curb, pushes him wide, too much curb on the right side of the second part of the chicane, and sends him into the grass, losing a little bit of time there. We see Magnus finally into the pits. That relinquishes Carl up to P2. Carl still staying out. Thinks he can do maybe 1 or 2 more laps before the pit window closes, so he is pushing it as far as he possibly can. Andrei Porshakov now up to P3, but still about 30 seconds behind Nico Dudek. And let's take it back over to the battle between Simon and Bosman. I think at this point, Richard Walters has gotten by, and yes, looking at the track map, Richard Walters has been let by. Been a rough race, Vigard? Yes, it absolutely has. Quite a number of incidents. The stewards are going to be very, very busy in the 2 weeks before Kyalami. It's been very incident-prone, but gave Reagan and I quite a lot to talk about. Quite a lot of replays to view as Gary Bosman gets a little squirrely through the curbs there. Simon going, a little wide. That could be flirting with a track warning, not a no time gained warning, but a track warning. You get 3 of those and you get a drive-through. But I don't think we've seen a drive-through come for any driver. It is fairly difficult, I will say, to get a drive-through penalty. We did have car 99. Let me figure out who that is. That was Johan Hauben. That's why he's fallen down to 16th. Hauben with a stop-and-go penalty. Stop-and-go would have been for speeding in the pit lane. So a little too eager to get in the box, as Carl, speaking of pitting, is completing his pit stop finally. Andre is going to finally regain that P2 as Volkov also into the pits. We're going to have to see why Volkov is pitting. And as I was talking about, oh my gosh, as I was talking about how difficult it is to get a drive-through for track limits, Volkov comes through to serve a drive-through for track limits. So ignore everything I say about our drivers. Just like last race, as I was rambling about when drivers were going to be coming in for pit stops, only for them to defy my predictions, Volkov defies my claim that it's difficult to get a drive-through here at the Nürburgring. It's definitely possible if you mess up that final chicane, if you go wide there at T4 that Daniel just went through. You can definitely get some warnings that accumulate over an hour and 20 minutes. And ultimately give you a drive-through.
The window is now closed.
And as Carl completes his pit stop, he is almost inseparable from Magnus. This is going to be, I think, our final on-track battle for the day. Simon now over a second behind Bosman. Don't think there's going to be anything doing there with 5 minutes remaining. And Pashov also right behind. So for the final podium position, we have a battle going on. Magnus almost got passed by Carl. Carl sending it deep. There's, oh my gosh, nothing separating these drivers as they head toward the Schumacher S. They are all over the place on track, maximizing every inch of tarmac here. Pashov was really hoping to get past Carl there. I don't think Carl or Magnus would have taken tires going so deep into the race. With only a few minutes remaining, it would be foolish to take tires. So Pashov would have newer tires compared to these two, but Pashov hit quite a number of laps ago. So they're newer, but not new by any means. So Magnus able to hold on to this podium position, but is he going to be able to hold off Carl, who we know is very, very quick, has been able to put the fight to Oystein Brenham, one of our perennial fast drivers in previous seasons, and Pashoff sending that black and green Porsche up the inside in the final corner. That is a move and a half if he is able to make it stick right side by side with Karl Nordell. That has allowed Magnus to get a little bit of clear air here. They are neck and neck going into T1. Pashoff braking a little earlier. Still side by side. Karl's going to have the inside for T2. But no, unable to capitalize on that. And Pashoff shuts the door on the front end of that Mercedes. Pashoff with the move done. That was some excellent clean racing. Way better than a lot of the other passes that we have seen be made in T1. A little squirrely there for Pashoff, exiting T4. Now the battle is on for Pashoff, trying to get back up to the rear end of Magnus in that forest green McLaren. It's going to be very nice for Magnus if he is able to make this fuel-only strategy work. And Pashoff not having the best laps, losing time to Magnus, and with Karl trying to fight it around the outside, a little bit of contact between those two drivers, nothing major, but again, that just allows even more space for Magnus up front. Karl really trying to hound the rear end of that Porsche. That is going to be putting so much pressure on Rosen to maintain that P4, and when they are battling, that is going to, again, keep allowing Magnus to run away potentially with this podium. So we have only 2 minutes and 9 seconds, but Nico has already crossed the line. So I think when Nico gets to the finish line on this current lap that he's on, there will only be one more lap remaining. So that means 2 more laps here for Magnus, Rosen, and Karl Nordell. Tristan Stork right on the back of Marcus Ness for P8 overall, fighting for P2 in class. We'll keep an eye on that, but for right now, we are going to be watching the battle up front in our pro class for this potential podium position between 3 drivers. This is a crazy battle. I was not anticipating this with where Karl and Magnus were with their pit stop strategy. All of a sudden I saw Vigard in chat saying, "Come on Magnus, get that podium," and I looked and yeah, we had a crazy battle going on for P3. So thank you Vigard for letting me know about this going on up here. So over the last few corners, Karl has fallen off slightly from the back of Pashoff, and Pashoff simultaneously has been able to get a little closer to Magnus. The gap now less than a second. Pashoff able to use those slightly newer tires to good effect, catching up to the rear end of Magnus's McLaren.
Okay, the leader is on the final lap now. Give it all you can.
And we get verbal confirmation from the crew chief that the leader is on the final lap. So only about a lap and a half remaining for our 3rd, 4th, and 5th place drivers here that we are watching. And Tristan Stork did get around Marcus Ness. Let's leave this battle quickly to get a replay of that battle and see how Tristan Stork was able to make the pass for P2 in class. So coming through the final corner, Tristan in that purple McLaren coming up to the back of the black and white BMW up ahead. Tristan we've seen some audacious dives from, and from a few car lengths back is going to send it up the inside. Don't even know if he wanted to make that move, but broke late and was able to get around, has the inside for T2, and I think was able to solidify that position. So good heads up driving from Marcus Ness there. Allows Tristan to cleanly make that move. But we have a pass. Let's try and take a 30-second replay and see if we can catch. I missed this pass. So Pashoff was already by Magnus. I apologize that we missed this pass for 3rd place, but Pashoff ultimately was able to get around Magnus Haukeba. Haukeba at least able to fight a little bit into that final corner, but nothing doing on Pashoff. And with only less than a lap remaining, I think Pashoff will be able to cement that P3. Ultimately taking tires early in the race, I think, was the strategy to be on, at least for those drivers. And Magnus now a second behind Rosen Pashoff, but Karl getting real close to the back of Haukeba, and with all that battling has allowed Richard Walters in P6 to catch back up slightly. Halbin, I think, spun at the final corner or was just pulling over to allow Nico Dudek to cross the line in P1. Congratulations to Nico. Another masterclass. Not as big of an advantage as he had last race, but still a good battle nonetheless. We see a yellow flag for Darren Chan, maybe losing it slightly through that final chicane. And did Pashoff take tires? I believe he did. Pashoff was stationary for 35.8 seconds, so that does lead me to believe that he did, in fact, take tires and fuel at his pit stop. So I think that was the advantage. Magnus, only half a second behind, was able to keep up, but with only a chicane and one more corner to go, I don't think that's going to be enough for Magnus to be able to make a move. Richard Walters behind was able to get very, very close to the rear end of Carl, but not enough track to be able to make that move stick. Only a couple laps more, I think, would have allowed Richard to get past and potentially join this battle for P3. Pashoff able to solidify that podium position. Very nice work. A last lap pass, or almost a last lap pass for Pashoff. Very good racing from those drivers, 3rd through 6th. Very clean. Very well done, boys. Nico, again, very well done. Takes P1. Andre Porshakov in his first race takes P2. Amazing job from the winners, indeed. Kieran Macy has not yet crossed the line, is the last car on track, but is going to be the P1 finisher for our silver class. Macy, I feel like we haven't talked much about you today, but again, that's probably good with how much action was on track. Just means you kept it clean, and ultimately that was what allowed you to finish P1 in the silver class, 7th overall. Some nice overall points for that championship. Tristan Stork, P2, Marcus Ness, P3, Darren, P4 in silver. That rounds out our top 10. Daniel Volkov finishes in 11th. That last-minute drive-through for track limits ultimately cost him some points in his first race for Bez Racing. That is going to be last place of cars on track for the pro drivers. Gary Bosman finishes P5. Macy, yes, first win in class for BRT. Congratulations. Hell of a drive, man. Really, really nice today. Simon as well, first in class for the AM drivers. Of course, it helps that you were the only AM class, but still, that's 25 points in the bag. Very, very nice. We have Bryce Prevost, Charlie Thornton, and Johan Hauben rounding out our finishers and the silver class drivers. So that is it for our race. The connection to the server has been severed as the race is now over. Again, very big congrats to our class winners, Nico, Kieran, and Legre Simon. We will be back on March 9th in 2 weeks' time for round 3 at Kielami. We're going to have to see if Nico, if he shows up, is able to keep up that streak of winning. We could have the new Oystein Brenham in our league. Brenham, if you're listening, come on back. We think you would have some definite competition now. We miss you out on track, but interesting race here at the Nürburgring. Definitely a lot of collisions. There's going to be a lot for the stewards to look over. Taking a look at our Google spreadsheet, there were 33 incidents that were recorded. For context of Barcelona, Barcelona's still pretty incident heavy. There were 26, but definitely a couple more here at the Nürburgring. But we did have 1 or 2 more drivers on track today. So we like to see attendance increasing instead of going the other way down. And I also like to see, finally taking a look at the stream statistics, that we had another stream without... Sorry, bless me. Another stream without any freezes or frame drops or anything like that. I take that as a win from the streamer side. So again, thank you so much for tuning in. We really appreciate coming and viewing our stream. And again, we'll see you in 2 weeks at Kyalami. Have a great day.